a gambling man, Jack?
Not anymore.
Once a gambling man, always a gambling man.
Let's go, let's go!
You bet everything you had. Toss up a coin. One side, you, your family, live the life they always dreamed of. On the other side, you lose everything. You owed a lot of money to some very bad people. So I bought your debt. Now you're gonna have to repay me that debt.
Can we just get to the job?
It's a legend in the underworld. To those in the know, it's the money plane. A bulletproof casino in the sky, untouchable by any government agency. Whatever you want to wager on, the money plane has you covered.
Russian roulette.
Word is they carry up to $1 billion on board in crypto and millions in cash. I want you and your crew to take down the house.
That's insane.
Yeah. Heck, might even be a good time.
Now, without further ado, sit back, relax, and prepare for takeoff.
We have control of the cockpit. Who's next? Hey, pal.
You're dead! Your families are all dead! You, your crew, and everyone you ever met! Dead! By the time you touch down! Now bring me my money!
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello. I know you don't like to date this podcast much, but happy Extra Life Eve for when this episode posts. Yeah, if you didn't know, I believe we put it up on the Twitter if you've seen some donations come through there. We are doing Extra Life where we raise money for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. It'll be live tomorrow when you hear this episode, starting 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free. It should be on all the socials by then, on Discord and things like that. We'll be over at twitch.tv/GameVaultPod, and you can donate by going to tinyurl.com/GamerDadBattle. We'll have a wheel that has consequences on it, and then we'll have some donation incentives, some goals to hit, some stretch goals to hit, playing some video games, having some fun. It's always one of the days of the year I look forward to, besides the big charity that we raise money for, just hanging out with you guys for an extended period of time. So be sure to check that out. And if you have any suggestions for games or incentives and things like that, feel free to just hit up any one of our Twitters, either Game Vault Pod or TC10 Pod.
Okay. Yeah. Look out for that. I'm sure we've posted things on Twitter since this recording and when this goes live. So check all that out at our good friends Twitter. Game Vault Pod that's the Twitter for Game Vault Podcast, right? Game Vault Pod.
Yep.
Check them out there. Should have all the information you need. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we're Game Vault Pod on all socials. And if you're looking for the podcast, we do spell out podcast if you're looking on Apple. So
gotcha. Okay, great. As for this week and this podcast, this week's movie was picked by Mark, if I'm not mistaken. So why don't you tell us what movie we're watching this week?
Yeah, so this week we watched the 2020 Kelsey Grammer classic, Money Plane. I'll fully admit that I first heard of this, I believe it's either one of two podcasts I heard watch this movie, and I've been interested in it ever since during the pandemic. Basically, the gist from what I remembered before watching it was there is a plane of like an illegal casino where all the worst people go to bet money on things you can't imagine. And Adam Copeland, better known as Edge in WWE, is tasked with robbing the money plane for Kelsey Grammer. And it's a very standard heist movie from there, but just the insane idea. We'll get into it deeper once I hear the other guys' opinions. But the insane idea of the things they do on that plane and the idea of a plane just flying in international airspace so that it can have no laws. It's kind of like one of those, I don't know if it's actually true ideas, but kind of like awesome settings for a movie that I wish they did a little bit more with here. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what you guys thought.
Sure. Dan, where are you coming from with Money Plane?
Okay. Never heard of Money Plane, never saw it. I think this movie has some good ideas. The overall plot is trying to be sort of a mix between a Mission Impossible and a Ocean's 11 type of movie, right? Where you go undercover, you're trying to bring down the house, but the house is 30,000 feet up in the air. This was kind of a glorified, what do they call those movies, Ant? Where there's Pacific Rim and then the Atlantic Rim. What are those movies? Asylum?
Asylum movies, yeah.
Yeah. So this was kind of like a more polished Asylum movie, it felt like.
Sure.
It has some big names in it, right? We have Kelsey Grammer, we have Thomas Jane, Denise Richards.
We have the Lawrence brothers. Don't leave out the Lawrence brothers.
That's right. Yeah, both of them are in this.
All three.
There's 3 Lawrence brothers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I thought there was only 2.
Well, obviously, someone didn't watch Brotherly Love.
Yes.
That's what we know for sure.
No, I've never heard of that.
Hmm.
I'm going to have to get on that. I'm sorry, guys. Well, we should pause the podcast. Let me go watch Brotherly Love, and then we'll come back. So
It's gotta be
pause.
I wonder if it's on Disney Plus or something.
Oh, maybe it is. So hold on. Let's pause real quick. Edit break. Guys, Brotherly Love is fantastic. Those Lawrence brothers, they're a laugh riot. Love them. No, but I didn't know about that. And I wish this movie could have pulled off the idea of the Mission Impossible Ocean's 11, but it suffers from a very poor script. The acting isn't too bad. Everyone's doing their best in this. And Kelsey Grammer is definitely chewing the scenery whenever he's around. He does have a very good line in this movie. It made me laugh out loud when he's holding someone hostage and he's like, don't you piss yourself. And the sincerity in his voice when he tells this bound and gagged man not to piss himself, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, he has another great line later when the guy gets shot and he goes, "Not on my terracotta floors.
It's porous.
You know they're porous. It's never going to come out.
It's got a stain." But then he's trying to act very, he's a mob boss or he's a very dangerous man, Kelsey Grammer. But he has his henchman, his right-hand man is called P. Roach.
Yeah.
It's just Papa Roach.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
No. Just...
Probably could have just had a regular name like Gary or something.
Yeah. As for me, I also became aware of this movie during the height of the pandemic. I think How Did This Get Made did an episode just about when this movie first came out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was that one or Shut Down Fullcast, the college football podcast, which would also watch a movie like this.
Gotcha. So I'm on the fence on this one. I think there's things that I like and there's things that I don't like. The first thing, great concept. Yeah. Ocean's 11 meets Con Air. I'm on board, 100%. The execution of that, though, not great. Just glaringly limited by the budget. Like everything is just curtains. So to hide the fact that it's not a real plane and we're basically just set dressing the same set over and over again to make it look like different parts of the plane. And it really doesn't do much with that concept. Once the concept is set, it's like maybe a 50% effort, really, more than anything.
Normally, you guys disagree with me. This movie is short, but I think it needed like 10 more minutes to just kind of like give you something. I feel like it needed something else, and it just, for some reason...
I don't know what else it could give. You know what I mean? Like, I agree with you, but what could they possibly give us,
It just felt like for a heist movie, it needed like something a little bit more. Like, I don't know. I wish I could say exactly what would help it, but I'm not even asking like to get it to 2 hours. I'm just saying like 5-10 minutes of something more where I think because the most interesting, not funny scene, but the most like interesting scene that was outside of the heist parts was the whole Russian roulette scene where the guy just keeps throwing the gun back and forth. Like, it's kind of like, It's a very real moment where he's like, no, fuck this. I'm not,
Right.
just trying to get out of the situation. Like, they didn't have any fun with that stuff as much as I guess they were trying to horrify you with it, where I think you could have had a little more fun with the betting. But it just felt like the plane needed a little more build-up before they went into their plan. Maybe that's where the 5-10 minutes comes in. Maybe another scene of, instead of just having Edge sit down, play one hand of poker really badly, and then leave, maybe he does something else.
Sure.
I don't know. I think
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I think that segment before they went into the plan needed to be a little longer. And I think there also needed to be a twist in the plan outside of the whole plan B thing that we didn't know, that we weren't aware of. Because we were aware of their entire plan before going in there. And it just, at least for me, I don't know for you guys, but I became starting to look for the part where it would go wrong. Like, the plan is too perfectly explained that something had to go wrong. It wasn't like Ocean's 11 where it looks like it goes wrong, but hey, there was this thing we didn't tell you, and then it rewinds through and you see it.
There's no stakes in it.
No.
Like, the stakes are never raised.
Yeah,
Right.
the only stakes are between Edge and Kelsey Grammer.
They take Edge out of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he just basically sits in that cockpit, and the way he resolves the issue is to just hold up a speaker with him announcing that he was going to rob the money plane, and then that was it.
Yep.
And that was the end of that story.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I said that I didn't like is you hire a WWE legend and you have him sit in a chair for most of the runtime,
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
on the
one fight.
phone, and that's not even a good fight. It's
Yeah.
in close quarters with two guys that are way too big to be in that cockpit.
Yeah. It doesn't give him a chance to show off his physical prowess.
Right.
You know he's a wrestler, so you want to show that off. That's what they do well.
Yeah. Other things I liked, Matthew Lawrence and his ridiculous mustache. Thumbs up on that one. Thomas Jane's pipe in the first scene he's in.
Ooh, yeah, that was cool.
And Katrina Norman as Isabella, because she's the only person doing a damn thing throughout this entire movie as the flight attendant, because everybody else is just sitting down, not doing much. But she's the one that has like 3 separate fight scenes. But other things I didn't like, the money plane itself just doesn't seem that fun. As Mark mentioned, it's just, there's not fun gambling scenes. It's just Trey is the one that's experienced all of this, not who's our protagonist is supposed to be. So that's weird. And it just takes itself far too seriously. Really. Those are my notes in terms of the overall, what I liked and what I didn't like.
The majority of the gambling doesn't even take place on the plane,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, everything is on a tablet, so it's shot somewhere else.
Yeah. And we're just watching it on a screen.
Yeah, it's not as fun.
No. And like there are moments where like Matthew Lawrence was very fun in this short time that he was there, where he's playing the Texas Millionaire or whatever. And
I
shoots
can't
himself in the head.
lose.
Yeah.
I can't lose.
And that just feels like it's in a different movie
Mhm.
as opposed to everybody else who's just super dryly serious, except for Frasier. Frasier's having an okay time, but again, he's also just sitting down in front of a screen.
Right.
No.
He's only in one place. He's never in another setting in the movie. He's sitting at the table in his I'm assuming mansion,
Yeah.
and it's just in front of a laptop.
Yeah. It might be Kelsey Grammer's house for all we know.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he took the part. I'm like, oh, I get
Yeah.
paid and I get to stay home. This is great.
Yeah, they probably shot a day's worth of stuff, and that was it.
Yeah.
Made himself a nice mill.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't find Kelsey Grammer all that intimidating as a person.
No, I could probably beat him up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he would just wax poetic, right? He wouldn't want to fight you. He would use his wit to talk you out of fighting him.
Right. Yeah, assuming he's as smart and as eloquent as Fraser Crane.
As most of his characters seem to be, right? Like he played
Right.
Beast in the X-Men, Frasier,
Sideshow
Sideshow
Bob.
Bob. Yeah, so they're all more cunning and like devious, except for Beast. I mean, he's very smart, but like when they showed him trying to be like all badass, like he has that line when you first meet him, like, oh, Pollock. He's naming famous painters or artists. They're all pussies. I'm like, yeah, all right. I see what you're going for here, Kelsey, but it's not, you're not scaring me here.
Yeah. And Pollock was just known for being a badass, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought that was again. He does a great job because he's just having fun. But I think they could have found someone a little bit more intimidating. Like if Michael Clark Duncan were still alive, I would have liked to have seen Michael Clark Duncan do something like that because he could be more intimidating.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't think the casting of Kelsey Grammer was a problem for me. I thought it was fine. There are just other things in the movie that are just, like I said, it's not particularly fun with a concept like this, which should be a little more, off the wall and a little crazier. And that one moment we do have with Matthew Lawrence blowing his brains out in the first attempt in Russian roulette just seems like a standout in an otherwise pretty dry heist movie.
I thought like you said, like they basically use the same set over and over again, masked with the purple drapes.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I think the concierge, one of the Lawrence brothers, mentioned like, "Oh, the gambling is going to begin in the main floor," and we don't see any other floor. It's
Right.
only the one spot, and it's basically the lounge of the plane. It's like, all right, well, don't say the main floor if you're not going to show us other floors.
Right.
We're not getting to experience this futuristic plane, and I know this film was released in 2020, so cryptocurrency was all the rage. But I don't think that's a good MacGuffin for Kelsey Grammer or a good reason. Just to say, yeah, they have a ton of money. I
Yeah.
just want the money.
I don't know much about cryptocurrency, but I think it's a misunderstanding of what cryptocurrency is. That you have to be on this plane to take it, right? It should be on the blockchain, so you should be able to access it wherever.
Yeah, no matter where, I guess, right? If you can hack into the wallet, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, people do it all the time. That's the problem with cryptocurrency.
And it's not a good idea for your movie because no one knows what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Right? The general audience isn't going to know how to gain access to cryptocurrency or even what it is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess it's just a way to get there to be a bigger prize. Like, oh, there's billions in cryptocurrency rather than just like
instead of millions.
There's like $2 million on that plane. Like, who cares? He doesn't need that kind of money,
But he does need the cryptocurrency.
He does need that crypto.
Do you think he and Musk were boys?
Maybe. Yeah. Now Musk needs that money plane so he could pay for his purchase of Twitter.
I wrote down in my notes, if this movie had been made in the 90s, there's a 100% chance Brendan Fraser is the main character in this movie.
That would be a much more fun movie.
Yeah. I think so, right? Oh, like how good would it be seeing Brendan Fraser try to take down a money plane?
Yeah, that'd be good. Who would be the Rumble?
The Rumble
in the 90s.
It could be Kelsey Grammer.
You could do that. I like Michael Clark Duncan. He's intimidating. He's an intimidating guy.
Yeah. I've also have a problem with his nickname being the Rumble when he could have just been the Grouch.
I said that when he introduced himself, you're like, Darius Grouch the Third, aka I'm like the Grouch, the Rumble. Wow, what the fuck? They never explained the Rumble. Where does that come from?
And if you watched with subtitles on, it said Thunder Rumbles when he says it the first time.
Oh, geez, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Do you think maybe that was a choice for like a character choice that he made?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And the idea that someone was also named Darius Emmanuel Grouch the Third, like 3 people were named that in this universe, seems insane.
Yeah, Darius. That's a very strange name for Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like McGillicuddy for Patrick Lamont Jr.'s character.
Yeah,
like clearly that's not true.
Yeah, what a ridiculous name, McGillicuddy. All the names in the world.
Yeah, right. It reminded me of the Austin Powers. This is my wife, Oprah.
My name is Richie Cunningham.
Yep. Again, I agree with both of you. It's a good premise. It's a really good idea, and it has the ability to have really high stakes. You're 30,000 feet in the air, you're undercover, so many things can go wrong, but nothing really goes wrong. It's just there's a double cross.
Yeah.
And even the people who run the gambling on the plane are none the wiser of what's going on, that Edge and his team are trying to take them down.
Yeah. It's also like the fact that it's a plane never really plays a part in the danger,
No.
right?
There's more danger on the ground than in the airplane.
Right. There's like never someone almost gets thrown out of the plane or the cargo hold or something like that.
Right. I
Like
actually
Con
thought
Air.
that was going to be one of the gambling parts, where it was like if you cheated or if you lost, they just toss your ass from the plane.
No, that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like, because what's his name? Joey Lawrence just blows a dude away for cheating at poker,
Mhm.
and he doesn't even ask him. He just like rolls up on him, shoots him in the back of the head, and he just happened to be cheating. Like, oh man, imagine if he wasn't. That would have been a little awkward.
Going back to the one statement I made before, that would have been a good time for like some kind of turn from the Joey Lawrence character. You know, that he knew they were on the plane. You know, trying to like he turns around and shoots that guy and goes like sort of looks at, I forget McGillicuddy's real name because it was just funny that they kept calling him McGillicuddy.
Trey.
And just looked at him and sort of been like, remember what the house says about people trying to cheat it, right? You know, something like that. Like kind of give a hint that he knew what they were doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Would have been a great moment to do that without actually showing the turn. You know, I don't know. They could have done more with the people that were there for the house, you know, than they did.
I kept thinking, because Trey, he keeps winning by accident with all the games.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes on a roll, and they keep mentioning, oh, you're on a roll, Mr. McGillicuddy. You're on a roll. And I thought that would play more into, like, someone was going to interrogate him. I go, who did you say you were? What did you say you do? Like, oh,
Right.
I'm with so-and-so. But then, like, no one questions him. No one... The one guy, the arms dealer, and his boy kind of are a little bit suspicious of him.
Yeah.
But they only realize something's going on when they see him and what's her name, Isabella, leaving the money room essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there was just a lot of missed opportunities here. Again, it's not a strong script.
Yeah. From the idea of them stealing millions and billions, it's just very low threat. There's like very low stakes because there's no constant threat of being caught by the people that run the money plane. The only antagonists really is that arms dealer and his boy, which is weird because it's like, you know, where's the threat from the house basically?
And they completely eliminate the stakes at the end when they goes, the house will refund any losses.
That's true.
You know, and it's like, what was the point?
And there's an unnecessary twist that Kelsey Grammer double crosses them. Why? You want the money from the plane. Why are you going to double cross? Why not do it after you get the money?
Yeah, that also doesn't make any sense either.
Right. In reality, what you should have done is basically, if you're Kelsey Grammer, you're holding the family hostage somewhere because the family never really comes into play. You hold Denise Richards and the daughter hostage, and you're like, all right, well, listen, you have to rob this plane or I'm going to execute your family. And that's where the stakes are.
Mm-hmm.
That never comes into play. As far as we know, Denise Richards is never in danger. For some reason, Thomas Jane is in more danger than Denise Richards.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if they rolled up on Thomas Jane's house or was he staying at Edge's house. I assumed it was Edge's house.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Otherwise, the house is empty.
Right.
Yeah, I think the plan was to get Denise Richards and the daughter out because they knew that he was going to do something like that.
Yeah.
So that it would just be Thomas Jane there for when they eventually invaded the house.
Right. Because that is after they enact Plan B, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think the thing with Kelsey Grammer with the double cross thing, I think he was going to, once they transferred the money, I think his plan was there's some way he was going to alert the plane that it was them. You know,
that's true because what happens in the sequence of events in that is that they were supposed to have already transferred the money at that point, but because the fight with Ivan, the arms dealer, he compromises the server so they can't do the full transfer. So
yeah,
they're the armed guards or whatever are too early in their taking hostage the young Lawrence brother.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, and I think they did a poor job of explaining everyone else's plan or motivation. Not that they needed to reveal it. They only really explained the money plane heist plan. Like there were no hints of what the other stuff was outside of vague threats.
Yeah. The Money Plane from 2020 was directed by Andrew Lawrence, director of The Office Mix-Up, Killer Competition, A Deadly Mix-Up, Mistletoe Mix-Up, and the youngest brother of Joey and Matthew Lawrence. Seems like he's carving himself a nice little directing career in these made-for-TV movies, which I think he usually employs his brothers as actors. So, not a bad little career. Seems like he's having fun doing so. And all these movies are between, like, since the pandemic, 2020 to 2022, were all these movies made. So it stars Adam Copeland, Kelsey Grammer, Thomas Jane, Denise Richards, Katrina Norman, Patrick Lamont Jr., Andrew Lawrence, Joey Lawrence, Matthew Lawrence, Al Sapienza, Alexander Vaishelboim, Jolene Kim, and Candy Brooks. IMDb score of 3.2 and a Rotten Tomato score of 23%. Budget, $5 million. Box office, $618. That is 3 figures. Triple figures, guys.
Yeah.
$618.
Yeah, I think this might have been like a direct to Hulu.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sure it was like, hey guys, come see my movie. We rented out the theater for it.
Yeah, it was the Lawrence brothers with, what's her name, Melissa Joan Hart joined.
Yeah.
IMDb has this listed as a comedy. That can't be right.
I feel like it could have been more of a comedy.
Yeah. I mean, it has some jokes in it, but I wouldn't call this a comedy in any sense of the form.
But it definitely should be. But it's not. You're right. You guys want to get in the plot?
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us?
Want to give a shout out to our 2 very good friends and fellow podcasters, Tia and Brittany. And we would like for you to go on over to geekvibesnation.com and check out their podcast, Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast where Tia and Brittany pick a topic and they do a top 10 list on it. So if you enjoy lists and whatever subjects they might pick, I've listened to some of them. They have some really good ones, ranging from television to movies, actors, actresses, comic books, video games. Go check them out. Like I said, it's at geekvibesnation.com. Just search Top 10 with Tia and it should pop right up.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we'll be right back.
Saturday, and parts of Sunday. It's Extra Life 7 live on twitch.tv/GameBallPod. 24 hours of thrills, chills, and video game skills as the Game Ball podcast streams all day and all night, with all the proceeds going to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. It's Gamer Dad versus Gamer Dad as 2 titans square off for the paternal nerd supremacy. 2 men enter, only one will be named Ultimate Gamer Dad. 9 a.m. Eastern, Saturday, November 12th at twitch.tv/GameBallPod. Be there, be there, be there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for Money Plane. We open on Adam Copeland, aka Edge, trying to get through security at Art Museum, which looks more like an abandoned factory judging by the establishing shots.
That was my first chuckle of this movie, was that it just said Art Museum. Like they didn't even try to come up with a fake name for it.
They had to put it there because there's no way of telling that that's an art museum.
Yeah.
Through the interiors or the exteriors.
Yeah.
But after some tense moments, security lets him through, and his team walks him through where to find the painting he's there to steal, which is behind a security door with a card reader, which is different than MoMA. And when he walks into the secure room, the painting is gone, and it turns out that the feed the truck is looking at is a taped feed a la Speed. So basically, they've been set up. The painting that they are there to steal isn't even there. At that moment, a team of assault rifle-wielding armed guards starts storming the building looking for Adam Copeland, a.k.a. Edge. But the femme fatale, Isabella, on the team gasses all the guards and comes to his rescue as they escape to the roof, make it back to the van that's driven by one of the Lawrence brothers.
The first of many times where a more competent woman saves a man in this movie.
Yeah. It's Isabella every single time.
Yeah.
She's the only one doing something.
Yeah.
We then cut to Adam Copeland, aka Edge, aka Jack Reese, sitting down with Fraser Crane. Kelsey Grammer is playing Darius Emmanuel Grouch, and if that's not an insane enough name, he's actually the third, meaning his family thought it was a good idea to name 2 other people that name. And if that isn't crazy enough, his nickname is the Rumble, which makes no sense given that they could have easily just nicknamed him the Grouch.
I was slightly zoned out on this, that I thought that was Edge's name. Like when reading the captions, I didn't realize it was Edge, or somebody introducing with Kelsey Grammer's character's full name.
Yeah.
It was confusing when just peeking at the caption.
Yeah.
I think it would have been cooler, or it would have made more sense if Edge reveals Kelsey Grammer's nickname. Like Grammer sits him down and he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And like, "Oh yeah, you're the Rumble." And like maybe gives a little backstory as how he got the nickname, and because it's not as cool when you have to say your own nickname,
Yeah.
It's never cool when you have to come up with your own nickname.
Exactly. Yeah. If you have a nickname, that usually means you're notorious enough to have gotten it.
Yeah.
But if you give it to yourself, it doesn't count.
Exactly. It's really pathetic if you give it to yourself.
Apparently was the Rumble was the money guy behind the heist, and Jack is working for him because the Rumble bought Jack's gambling debts from some very bad people. And the painting was a $40 million painting that the Rumble wanted, so now Jack has to do another job for him. And the Rumble tells him all about the Money Plane, a mythical casino in the sky that criminals frequent that operate outside of all government jurisdiction. And you can even bet on a guy fucking an alligator, which I'm not sure what you're betting on there, but it's possible, apparently.
How long it takes for one of them to come, obviously.
I guess so. The Rumble wants Jack and his crew to steal the money on the Money Plane, which include millions in cash and billions in crypto, which is a very basic misunderstanding of what crypto actually is. And the Rumble makes some vague threats to Jack's family if he doesn't come through. And Jack basically relents. And then credits. After the credits, we cut to Jack talking to his team about the plan to rob the Money Plane. The plan is that Jack is going to pose as a dead human trafficker, which Isabella killed because she's just straight up fucking murderer. She kills so many people in this movie too. Isabella's going to pose as a flight attendant, and another one of his crew, Trey, will be his associate that will be on the plane to hack into the system. While the Lawrence brother, Andrew Lawrence, who's also the director, will be the man on the ground. Later, Jack goes home and plays with his daughter before putting her to bed with a reading of Robin Hood, because we need to question whether or not theft is inherently a bad thing or not, because this is going to come into play later. He goes to bed with his wife, played by Denise Richards, but he can't sleep as he thinks over getting involved with the Rumble. Then sees headlights pull up, so he grabs a gun and goes to investigate, and Thomas Jane walks through his front door playing his buddy Harry. They sit outside and talk about his Money Plane job, Thomas Jane spending the entire time smoking a pipe that I have to imagine was a choice that Thomas Jane personally added to the scene.
Yeah, that's his own personal pipe.
Yeah. The expedition dump a little over Jack's gambling, and Harry agrees that he's going to be the backup ground guy for the heist, and that he's going to look into what happened with the art gallery heist. So the plan goes into action as the crew boards the Money Plane, Isabella on board as a flight attendant, and Jack and Trey as Mr. Monroe and Mr. McGillicuddy, respectively. They have to surrender all firearms, and any funds they are bringing with them are transferred to a digital bracelet. They board and the concierge of the Money Plane, Joey Lawrence, briefs the Money Plane patrons, telling them that they are in such great hands.
Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. One thing that kind of irked me about this movie, so the whole idea of the Money Plane is it has the worst of the worst on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would think it's like super secretive where it is and like how to get on there, but they run it like it's a legit kind of airport where, you walk up and there's stewardesses and there's, it doesn't feel as if it would really be something that the worst, like the scum of the earth would be on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it would have just been, it's this plane in a hangar and there's armed guards, with like machine guns, and it would feel seedier. It wouldn't feel like this really ritzy, top of the line type of setting.
Right. Because at the same time, they need like clearance to take off, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just take off. Who knows what else is in the path?
Mm-hmm.
So and even though they run, they make the big point of saying, oh, you could do whatever you want because they're an international sky. Like, all right, but you have to take off and land somewhere where there is still law.
Right.
So couldn't they just get you after that. Like we know that the worst of the worst is on this plane. They're gonna land here. We'll just set up a sting operation and we'll grab them.
Yeah, and even the crimes themselves are happening not on the plane. There's gambling there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The guy that gets bit, that is a prisoner and gets bit by a cobra and dies, he's dying somewhere.
Exactly. Because of the actions of the people on the plane.
Yeah, but yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And also, still, the people on the money plane are not the villains of this movie, and it's so weird.
Yeah, you don't see them do any except for the arms dealer. You don't see anyone else do anything wrong.
Right. Like they're running a money plane where bad things are happening to people and they're betting on it. That's bad. But in terms of the story itself, the antagonist, there is no antagonist that is associated with the money plane, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's the
They
house.
they are a passive force in this movie.
Wouldn't it have been cooler if Jack and his team kind of have to take down these criminals, these career criminals, worst of the worst again? Like, almost like a John Wick kind of thing, where maybe they get found out and now they're taking on the arms dealer, the human trafficker, or I think Jack is pretending to be the human trafficker, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you have these people who are doing really terrible things or have done terrible things. So now, all right, they're cornered. They got to fight their way out, and they're doing good because now they're taking out some of the deadliest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would've
I
been
still
more fun.
could have said you could have made Joey Lawrence more threatening up there, or made him like a surprise ally or something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. So the pit boss then tells them all about their zero tolerance cheating policy, and then the plane takes off. One of the other patrons sexually harasses Isabella and then asks the concierge about buying the flight attendants for sex. But the concierge says the flight attendants are not for sale, but the money plane does provide its patrons with prostitutes. So the girls come out of the back and start rubbing up against all the other patrons. And a light goes off to signify that the first game is starting, Texas Hold'em, which is a pretty tame way to start off money plane, but I guess you have to have a baseline somewhere.
I think it's because that's what everybody knows.
Yeah. So Jack sits in for some Texas Hold'em with an arms dealer and his buddy, a mysterious Asian woman, and Matthew Lawrence with a fake mustache. The arms dealer tries to get into a dick measuring contest with Jack over who is simultaneously more a badass and less of a scourge of the earth. Jack, as a reminder, is pretending to be a human trafficker. Meanwhile, the arms dealer's buddy can't help but sexually harass Isabella. And then we montage through Texas Hold'em game until it's just Jack and Matthew Lawrence with a bad fake mustache. Jack calls all in with a terrible hand. Matthew Lawrence calls, and Matthew Lawrence wins with a full house.
Before I picked up on what was going on, I thought Edge was like he knew the odds for why he was playing that hand. It was Jack 4 offsuit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote down in my notes, Edge going all in with a Jack 4 offsuit. How's this guy our main hero?
Yeah, it seems like he doesn't know how to play poker.
And that's what confused me. But then I realized, oh, okay, he did this on purpose.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's trying to get out of the game so he could start the plan.
Right.
Jack then tells the concierge that he's tired and would like to retire for the night, and he has him transfer his funds to Trey so he could play as his proxy. The next game is to be chosen by Matthew Lawrence as the winner of the first game. He mentions how much he likes quote-unquote vodka. And then Jack uses his opportunity to sneak off and try to get to the cockpit. Meanwhile, Isabella is down in the lower deck to grab her stuff that's been stashed, but the arms dealer buddy comes down to, again, start acting real threatening to her. He asks her what's in the bag, and she blows him off, telling him that it's employees only, and she walks upstairs. Back at the casino floor, Trey has accidentally agreed to participate in a game of Russian roulette with Matthew Lawrence as J.R. Crockett, who says he can't be beat in the game, which I guess is true if he's played multiple times before and is still alive.
That's true.
And they go back and forth over who is supposed to go first. As a returning champion, J.R. Crockett has earned the right to go second. They toss the gun back and forth until J.R. says fine, he'll go first because he can't lose, and then immediately blows his own brains out. It's probably the highlight of the movie.
I like how they show his legs
Style.
twitching.
Yeah, it's a good moment. But it's in a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Up at the front of the plane, Jack waits for Isabella to show up, who eventually does. She knocks on the door of the cockpit, offering the pilot some food. Then Jack knocks out the pilot immediately after the door opens. Isabella works on tying the pilot up as Jack goes into the cockpit and then realizes that there's a co-pilot, which I don't know how he didn't realize that in the first place. Jack and the co-pilot go back and forth, punching each other in close quarters, occasionally knocking into the steering wheel, which causes the plane to jostle. Eventually, Jack subdues the co-pilot and has now taken control of the plane, and this is basically where our hero, Jack, will check out of the basic plot of this movie. Once he does, he radios to the team to tell them to move on to the next phase, which includes Trey finding the server room, and for Iggy, the ground guy, to set up his comm setup. Trey moves to try and locate the server room, but the concierge stops him and tells him that the next game is going to begin in a different part of the casino where quote-unquote theme games are being played. So he gets ushered over there, not before the concierge shows exactly what they mean by zero-tolerance cheating policy by blowing a guy's head off or pocketing an ace in a card game. He then brings him into another room, which it winds up accidentally betting on how long it will take a guy to die from a cobra bite, which he wins. Meanwhile, Isabella is in the lower part of the plane trying to find the vault. And Trey accidentally wins again, this time on something I'm not completely sure of. There's some Russian dudes in an apartment or something, and the guy chops another one's hand off.
The sledgehammer thing?
Yeah. And I'm not sure what they were betting on, but he somehow wins by guessing then he also wins again by guessing the right time it takes for piranhas to eat a guy down to the bone. It seems like they never tell him what he's betting on until the game begins, and that seems unfair to me. And meanwhile, Jack gets a call from Harry to tell him that what he found out about the museum job. Turns out the painting that they were there to steal was already owned by the Rumble, and it was moved out of the museum the night before, so it was the Rumble that set them up all along. Meanwhile, Isabella walks into one room where the vault is, and a guard gets suspicious of her, so she tells Jack to play music over the system to block radio communication and starts sexy dancing to try and distract the guard.
The worst sexy dancing in a
I don't know about that.
She gives up on it real quickly, too.
She does give up on it real quick. But she's actually... I was looking at her IMDb, and she is apparently an actual professional dancer, because all of her credits are with a dancing component to it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that she couldn't have done, but the dance the character does is real bad. She just does it and then goes, fuck, whatever. We'll just
she does drop it once.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's always her go-to move is I'm going to pretend I'm going to have sex with this guy, which I guess works,
9 times out of 10, that's the best bet.
Yeah.
She just found the one guy who wasn't, he liked his job too much. Hey, listen, Missy, I didn't come down here for sex. I got mouths to feed.
I didn't take this job on Money Plane to get women to throw themselves at me.
It's the few, the proud, the Money Plane guards.
Then she throws her heels at him and they fight, him much bigger than her, manhandling her for a while until she bites his ear off and then knocks him out with a fire extinguisher. And does she does the heel get stuck in his eye?
At one point they cut away. Someone's ear is on the ground.
She does bite his ear off.
Okay, so I was wondering where that came. Did the heel?
I thought she ripped his ears off.
Oh, I don't know. I thought she bit
down. She had 2 hands on his ears.
Oh, I thought she bit it off.
I mean, either way, it's still ridiculous. But
yeah, it's off, and she might be a sociopath.
Yeah,
it's very, very possible.
Yeah. She then uses the guard's fingerprint to open the vault and reveal a whole bunch of cash and drugs. Trey then sneaks off to try and find the server room, despite the other patrons trying to goad him back with offers of shots and women. The Rumble then calls Jack, and Jack tells him they found the vault, but are still looking for the server room. Then Jack tries to gauge the Rumble's reaction about the setup of the museum job, and he unconvincingly tries to change the subject. They hang up, and the Rumble accidentally has a man executed on his terracotta floor, which is porous and will stain. Jack then calls Harry to tell him he needs to take a look at some schematics. He has a bad feeling about the job, and Jack says that they may need to move on to Plan B.
Trust your gut.
Yeah. So Harry starts plugging away on his laptop. Meanwhile, Trey makes it to the server room, but is followed by the arms dealer and his buddy. But Isabella shows up and tells them they need to go back to their seats, so the arms dealer goes into the server room to take care of Trey, while the buddy plans to fight Isabella. And Jack gets another call from the Rumble, starts jerking him around, and gets the Rumble annoyed enough to get him to say his full name, his motivations loud and clear, and this is important for later. Trey manages to start the download from the server, and Iggy starts monitoring the transfer, but the arms dealer starts beating up Trey in the server room, which knocks the download offline. Now the plane is out of range for the download to work, and the plane has to come around again. Isabella fights the arms dealer's buddy and straight up just murders him with a broken bottle, then comes into the server room and helps Trey by kicking the arms dealer into the server, electrocuting him. Meanwhile, Iggy on the ground gets compromised by some armed guys that were sent by the Rumble. They've been set up once again. Jack connects with Isabella and Trey, and they say the server has been compromised. So he tells them to download the server onto an SSD drive, which will tip off Money Plane's cybersecurity, but Jack says he has a plan B. Harry, meanwhile, from the comfort of Jack's house, then pilots a drone over to where Iggy is being held and uses it to shoot all the armed guys dead.
If they were truly making this a comedy, they set up the thing where the little girl would have walked over while he was doing it, thinking he was playing a video game.
Oh, that would have been a good one, right?
And then he was bad at it, and she's like, move over, let me do this.
And then she does it.
Yeah.
Oh, she takes control of the drone?
Yeah. Doesn't know. Yeah. Like,
And
that's kind of a
Thomas-
dark comedy, but...
Right, because like Thomas Jane would allow her to do it.
Yeah, and she doesn't realize she's actually killing those guys.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, they set it up with him playing the video game with her. I thought that's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
That would've
It'll
been
be like,
cool.
oh, this looks so fake.
Right.
Jack calls the Rumble again and basically tells him that he's his own man and the Rumble doesn't control him. So the Rumble sends guys to Jack's house to kill his family, but Harry is there and winds up killing 4 dudes in a matter of seconds. Jack, Isabella, and Trey, once the crypto has been transferred to the hard drive, decide that they don't want anything to do with this money. They want to anonymously transfer the crypto money to charities across the globe, and that they're just going to let the cash out as they jump out the money plane. So Jack calls the Rumble one last time to tell him their plan, then makes him watch as he plays over the money plane comm system, the recording he made of the Rumble saying he wanted to knock off the money plane. The concierge hears it and assures the patrons they will cover any losses, and the pit boss then starts wagers of how long it will take to get confirmation of the Rumble's death. The team jumps out of the money plane and the cash goes flying. Armed guys show up at the Rumble's house to let him go out like Scarface. And we cut to black. When we come back, it's months later. Jack has somehow stolen the painting that they were supposed to steal in the first place, and Harry has negotiated a sale of the painting for $60 million, which they'll split 5 ways. And
So-
then we got
Well, you can finish it because I have a thing about this scene.
and then Jack plays with the family dog, and his family is in his backyard, and we fade out, and that's the end.
Why would you have a painting worth $60 million just sitting in your backyard
I was
outside?
thinking the same thing, yeah. Just open to the elements
Yeah,
next to your giant pile of wood.
and the dog.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that
that's a good
dog's
point.
probably just going right through it or peeing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I bring something new around my dogs, they immediately have to
Right.
get their nose all up in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that dog probably peed on it, knowing French bulldogs for their propensity to being assholes.
Yeah.
but, like-
it's...
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I didn't really have a point.
No, yeah, me neither.
But that's the end of Money Plane. It wasn't terrible. I didn't hate myself watching it, but
No.
there's a lot of missed opportunities here.
Yes. Yeah. Again, and we all agreed on this at the top of the show. Good idea. It was a good premise. It gives a lot to. It offers a lot in the terms of stakes that could be done. You know, again, planes going down. You don't even have the plane possibly crashing in this. That's
Yeah.
like a staple for plane movies.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Yeah.
not have the threat of the plane crashing?
Yeah, it could take place anywhere. Take place in a
Yeah.
boat. Could be Money Boat.
Right.
That's
So
man.
I saw someone wrote on IMDb, despite popular belief, this movie has no connection to Money Train. I would have rather it have been on a train.
Yeah.
Then it would have just been Bullet Train.
Oh, well, yeah, before Bullet Train came out, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree, Ant. I wasn't angry watching this movie.
Yeah,
It was quick.
It's the thing I say on a couple of podcasts, a couple of these movies. And you guys have already mentioned that there's like a kernel of something there in
Mhm.
terms if you take the pieces of it, but you just need a better writer and a better choice for lead actor. As much as I love Edge as a professional wrestler, I think you need someone with either give him a little more to do with some more charisma, or give it to somebody with some more charisma.
Yeah.
Because he does basically nothing worthy of a lead character in this whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's very passive presence. He should have been the arms dealer, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna say something that might be frowned upon. I think he's too old in this. He looks very old, and I don't know how old he is at the time of the shooting and all
I think
that.
he's only
But
in his 40s, which is fun.
he looks closer to 50.
I mean, it's a tough life to be.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not
professional
ragging
wrestler.
on him.
It's a heavy 40 plus years, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of mileage on your body, I'm sure.
Oh.
I'm just saying for something like this, I think it's a little. You need someone a little younger, I think, because the rest of the team looks young,
Yeah.
and he looks like he's been like through the ringer, you know.
Yeah.
He'll actually be 50 next year.
Okay.
So he would have been like 47.
47, 48. Yeah. Okay. So again, I'm not knocking him. I think you do need someone with a little more charisma, and just a little bit more youthfulness to them.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think they're going for like the one last job sort of trope sort of thing. So he does need to be a person that's kind of been around the block, I guess. But to your point, like the rest of his crew is much younger than he is. But again, also he does lack charisma in terms of, again, maybe it's what they gave him to do. Maybe he didn't have a long shooting schedule. Maybe they didn't have him for a long time.
It's a good point.
So maybe they were hamstrung in that way. I don't know. But then, I don't know. You've already, like, Thomas Jane is already in this movie. You know?
Yeah.
Like Thomas, if you've only paid a guy to sit in a chair because you don't have him for very long, then why isn't that just Thomas Jane?
Yeah.
And even the poster art for this movie has Thomas Jane dressed almost in the same outfit as Edge. So it makes you think, oh, all right, well, Thomas Jane's probably going to have a bigger part. Like I thought he would be on the money plane.
Yeah.
But he's just boots on the ground kind of guy. And I like Thomas Jane. I think he's a pretty underrated actor. I like him in pretty much anything he's done. And again, maybe they just didn't have him for a long time, so they were just like, all right, you're just gonna be in the house for the most part.
Yeah. This poster does lie quite a bit too.
It has Denise Richards more prominently, and she's only in like 2 scenes.
There's an explosion that doesn't happen.
No explosions. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, I think there's not enough action. It touts itself again as this comedy action thriller, and there's not enough of any of it to really call it that. I think I would have liked it more if Edge were single, if maybe he doesn't have a wife and kids, and he's a career, he's like a mercenary kind of thing, and he's doing this one last job. None of his team members die, so again, no stakes there. Like, it just feels like no one's in really any danger.
Right. Yep. Even when Andrew Lawrence is getting shot at, it doesn't really feel like he's in much danger.
Right. So
he hides behind that bulletproof table.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it just I can't even say it swung for the fences, but it had that idea, like Mark said, it had that kernel, and just it couldn't really land it. No pun intended.
Yeah.
You're telling me they couldn't land the plane? Damn.
Yeah, well, I said no pun intended, but now I have to intend it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing that's said a lot consistently about things outside. The area I am, but land the plane is a big joke amongst Sixer fans. So
yeah, it's over my head, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the joke was with the whole them tanking to get good players. One of the sports writers said that they would never land the plane to become a good team, so it just became a joke. So land the plane is a different context to me.
Gotcha. Speaking of Philadelphia, to bring this back into relevancy, the Lawrence brothers are Philly boys.
Yes,
so
they are.
Oh, that's
you go.
cool.
Yeah, so that's good.
I remember learning that for the first time and being excited, but not knowing what it meant when he was on Blossom. It was like all over local news.
Yeah. Joey was born in Philly, as was Andrew, and Matthew was in Abington,
which is a suburb.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those things where they were legitimately Philly boys. It wasn't like, saying someone is sort of like a Bradley Cooper is like from a suburb. Like they were legitimately born in the city.
Man, one of the pictures from Brotherly Love's IMDb page is Bryan Cranston making an appearance on that show.
Oh, he was everywhere.
He was.
This has nothing to do with the podcast, obviously, but Bryan Cranston, I read his first role was as one of the monsters in the original Power Rangers show.
Oh yeah, I do remember hearing that too.
So listen, humble beginnings. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Again,
All
this has nothing to do with Money Plane, but it's a good note to go out on.
Yeah, that's Money Plane as we talk about Bryan Cranston's career on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But we're going to take a quick break. We have a segment coming up, but you guys are going to list some ads so we can pay those bills, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into our final segment tonight. And this one, we are building our Money Plane. So
Yeah.
if you've watched Money Plane or you know anything about Money Plane, if you've listened to this episode, basically it's kind of a casino with anything goes. You could basically bet on whatever. So we've put together a wheel of about 20 things that are weird things to bet on. And we are going to build our Money Plane in the sky with, let's say, 6 different games that we are going to add to our Money Plane. So we've all kind of threw in some ideas, and we're going to spin a wheel and find out what's going to be in our Money Plane.
Yeah, I don't know if you ended up putting a similar game on there, Ant, as your surprise games, but I was kind of upset that one of the things I was thinking of ended up being in there. The people fight different animals thing. So I came up with some other ones that weren't that, but what I'm saying is I wouldn't be upset if that ended up being one of the things on the wheel.
All right. Well, let's get rolling, and then afterwards we'll go through what is on this list. But these guys want to be surprised, so let's start off with game number 1. What is going to be our first game on our Money Plane? And it will be Mario Kart 64.
Nice.
Pretty simple, pretty tame. Does not really live up to what else is on this list, but it's a pretty good start. It's the Texas Hold'em of our Money Plane.
Yeah, that's the one that gets you in before you see any of the dark shit.
Yeah, maybe you're playing Mario Kart. Maybe that could be a way to get into Mario Kart.
Yeah, get you a little inebriated so you don't feel as bad for the other stuff.
Yeah, I'm excellent at Mario Kart 64, so I like my chances so far on Money Plane.
It lulls you in, that false sense of security. Like, oh, this is going to be a fun Money Plane.
Yeah. All right. Second game up. Second game in the real Money Plane was figuring out how long a guy takes to die after he gets bit by a cobra. Oh, and our second one is Go Fish.
Nice.
Again, another one that's not quite indicative of everything else on this list.
So far, like, older people would really love this Money Plane.
This is Money Plane for like elementary school kids. So far,
I would imagine that betting on Go Fish would be like, I don't know if you guys ever saw the video of the guy acting as the wizard betting on the Wizard House Cup or whatever at the end of all the Harry Potter movies, where they announce who wins the House Cup or whatever it is,
right?
With the points. And, he bets on Slytherin. And if you remember, I forget which movie it was, they come up with all these bullshit Mario Party-esque points for Gryffindor at the end.
Right.
For them to win. And he's just freaking out like a degenerate gambler. I feel like that's what Go Fish is like. No, 5. Don't say 5. No, fuck, no.
All right. Third game. All right. Let's get a little more fun here.
Yeah,
There's got to be something.
Let's get spicy.
Mm-hmm. This is not going the way I planned. The third one up is Duck, Duck, Goose. So still very elementary school friendly. We're going backwards. It's kindergarten, maybe.
One of the ideas I had, I didn't put it, but one of them was musical chairs.
Well, musical chairs is on here as well.
Oh, that's great.
I have a feeling this is going to be the next one too.
That's the first one so far where I could see how you could make it darker.
Yeah. All right, so 4. Let's go. Come on, something fun. Something fun. Let's go. What is it? Real Money Monopoly.
There you go.
Okay. That would take the duration of the flight, really.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Meaning you literally, my thought process for this one, as it was my choice, was you would literally bankrupt someone on the Money Plane.
Right. You'd have to use all the money you have, right?
Yeah,
to get
right.
in.
Yeah, and all the money you are worth in the world.
Yeah.
Like if you join this game, you will literally either win the game or
you're out.
Or you have no money left in the world.
Mm-hmm. All right. Still not too crazy.
No.
This is a pretty tame money plane. Here we go. Almost musical chairs, but it's butter versus I can't believe it's not butter taste test.
This is great.
We can keep going too. We don't have to stop at 6.
And everybody would lose because there's no one out there who could tell the difference.
I want to see how many we can spin before we get something truly dark.
Well, let's find out. Let's go. This is our 6th. Fill in our plane. What's the 6th? Once again, it is butter versus I can't believe it's not butter. So let's spin that again.
A popular one.
Yeah, it's literally just went around and stopped on the same. Oh, there we go. Russian roulette.
There we go. That's the capper.
Yeah, that's where we got you in for Russian roulette. And it's like right next to butter versus I can't believe it's not butter. I feel like this app is now just kind of spinning all the way through the wheel.
How jarring is it to go from I can't believe it's not butter to Russian roulette?
Yeah.
This is great, and all of a sudden they just put a gun in front of you. Oh boy.
This wheel is fucking me now because then I just rolled it again for I can't believe it's not butter. Mario Kart 64 again. Let's see. Come on, something.
Are you able to remove the things once they've been chosen?
I probably could have, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because now it's butter versus I can't believe it's not butter again. Yeah, let's get that.
That's all. That's all that's on the plane. That's all they play.
Yeah. All right. Let's
imagine the Russian roulette. I would say the two hosts would be the person that lost Real Money Monopoly, who now has nothing to lose in playing Russian roulette.
Next one, eat or die. Hungry, hungry hippos to death.
Yes. I have 2 ways this game could go. It is either the 3 losers in Hungry, Hungry Hippos all get murdered, or the winner gets to choose which one of the 3 opponents he beat gets murdered. That's the dark side of this one.
Okay, sure. Next one. Let's see. Let's slow them coming. Let's see. What's it gonna be? Ooh, Tech Deck X Games.
I don't. Is that the little mini
Yes.
skateboards?
Yes, it
That's
is.
pretty good.
I like that. I don't know what you would do with it, but I just like the idea of an arms dealer just like doing sick flips.
It was clearly a 720, bro.
Let's see what else we can find. What else is coming on this plane with us? Ooh, this is the one I was hoping for. Chardy McDennis.
Oh, that's great. Whose idea was that?
I put that on there.
Fantastic.
That's
The full game of Chardy McDennis?
Yep.
Perfect.
Took the wrong. Let's do 2 more. I hope this is up. All right, 2 more. Perfect. Skateboard duel from Thrashin'.
That's really good.
I would definitely feel like that is one of the ones you're watching on the iPad.
Yes, it would have to be, right? I don't think you'd have enough space.
Yeah.
Unless you have a 747 and you got like a skate park.
And then everybody on the plane's like, what the fuck is going on here?
All right, last one. What are we doing? Oh, don't get caught up in it. Crossfire.
Crossfire. Boom. I love it. That's a good way to end it.
All right, so the ones that we didn't get picked. The Great British Bake Off. A guy fucking an alligator. Because I had to see what the big deal of that one was. Classic schoolyard game Mercy.
Ooh, Mercy.
Musical chairs. Hitting a beer can off someone's head with a football. Classic.
I don't want your life.
Yeah. Fire that fucking pigskin.
Yeah.
5-finger fillet. That's that
That's good. Yeah.
the table game where you
Is that what they were trying to come across in the movie, where the guy just hits, like, either chops his hand or smashes his hand?
I have no fucking idea.
That's from like Aliens, right? With Bishop.
Yeah.
With the knife.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And
That's a
next
good
is
one.
Next is gay chicken.
Oh boy.
Next is Rochambeau.
Rochambeau. What is that?
This is where you kick each other in the nuts.
Jesus.
Well, isn't Rochambeau also like rock, paper, scissors name?
I think that was originally, but as of South Park,
It's-
Rochambeau is kicking each other in the nuts.
Is it like that? Is it like the guys in the karate gi thing, where the one guy's squatting and the guy just consistently kicks him in the nuts?
Repeatedly just goes full force on his nuts.
We got 2 left. We got dick measuring, because
Gotta have that.
And the fight in Rocky 3.
Wait, do they watch the fight in Rocky 3?
They bet on the fight. They bet on the fight in Rocky 3.
The end fight between Apollo and Rocky.
Oh, okay.
Mr. T and Rocky.
Oh, I thought you meant the one at the end where he does
No.
the ding ding, and then it cuts when they fight in the abandoned gym.
No, then how do you win? Because you don't know who wins.
That's right.
This was actually a reference to the movie Dirty Work because Chevy Chase plays a doctor who has a gambling addiction. And he says that he's made a lot of bad bets, and one of his bets was the fight in Rocky 3.
Yeah,
he bet on Clubber Lang.
He bet on Mr. T.
That's like Krusty betting against the
Harlem
Globetrotters.
Yeah.
He's spinning the ball on his finger. Take it.
And so that's our money plane. We got a lot of good games. Some fun for the whole family. Others less so.
That's a story I'd like to see. A guy accidentally brings his family on the money plane.
Yeah. It's like,
is that like Soul Plane?
I've never seen Soul Plane.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we could say it is. Who's going to say no?
Am I unfortunately the only person that's seen Soul Plane?
I have not seen Soul Plane. I can guarantee you.
It looks like it's you, Mark.
Yep. You might be the only person that listens to this podcast that's seen Soul Plane. Well, you don't listen to the podcast, but I'm assuming that everybody that does that has not seen Soul Plane.
Yes.
If you've seen Soul Plane, reach out to us at TCTamPod on socials and let us know.
Yeah. And speaking of which, that's going to wrap us up this week. Next week, guess what? We got another episode. And if you're listening to this podcast, you know where to find us on all our socials. TicTamPod on Twitter, TicTamPod on Instagram. They called us a movie on TikTok. So check us out wherever you can. And we're going to be right back here doing it all over again next. So,
and be sure to, if you're listening to this, join us for Extra Life tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/GameBallPod.
There you go. And that's going to wrap us up this week. So, our director for Money Plane was Andrew Lawrence, the little Lawrence brother. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Delvecchio telling Andrew Lawrence, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.